Hi everyone. Right, 2 minutes past now, and we're going to be starting the section right about now. Just a few um, things to get us warmed up. Okay, so while we're going to be starting the section, we know that we just want to encourage you to um, mute your mics. Again, the idea is for us to be able to ensure that we have, you know, decorum for the facilitator or our guest, if you may, to freely express himself. He's going to have some ample time to share his experience. We're going to ask him some very important question about his career journey. And most importantly, I also want us to make sure that your audio is set. So when it's time for us to ask questions, we're going to get some minutes of time to ask questions. We are hopeful that this masterclass, is going to be um, not more than 50 to 55 minutes of our time. The most important thing for us is to be able to get value from real life personal experiences from our guests this morning. Also, as much as possible, as much as we can, I also want us to avoid some sort of distraction if we may. This way, we're able to get, of course, much needed value that we would take home from our guests. Okay. All right, so let's see. Let's get started. My name is Jonathan, and I'm happy to lead this team in quantum analytics. Today is not about me. Today is all about our guests, which I'm going to be introducing very, very soon. Let me see. We're just going to just reconfirm again if Emmanuel can hear us very loud and clear. Oh, he's in with us already, so his video is on. Hi, Emmanuel. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, Jonathan. Nice to meet you. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am okay, and I hope your weekend wasn't too early.
No,
Today.
it was.
All right, thank you so much. So, guys, I'm going to be introducing Emmanuel very, very soon. So, like I said, let's just feel free to relax and let's not be shy to ask questions when it's time. Okay, that's why he's here. He's our mentor. He wants to be able to share some of his experiences that can help us, in this space. And this is going to be an awesome section. Most importantly, I also want us to, be aware that this section is recorded and it's going to be on our platform on YouTube. So let's make sure that we are, not shy to ask questions, not shy to make comments where we need to. And most importantly, we're going to be connecting with our mentor today across this platform. All right. So to not take much of our time, simple breakdown for today's question. We're going to have, you're going to know about QA. I'm going to do that in a short minute. We're going to have skill breakdown. You're going to meet our guests, and then we'll have this discussion. Of course, we'll look at the program structure and how we support our students. Okay. So first of all, quantum analytics, again, we're just an edtech startup doing what we know how to do best, helping Africans and people of color to, make that transition into tech roles. We are grateful to have people like Emmanuel with us because we have a lot of these mentors reach out that we connect with, that, shares their experiences within our community. And this is so vital, in the journey so far. So this is who we are. We have learners and trainers from across 4 continents, and we are strongly focused on premium tech skills. If the skills is not going to get you, what you need, there's no need, having it in our platform. All right, I'm not going to talk so much about skill breakdown, and we're going to be leaving that for our guests when it's time. We're going to be asking him some very technical question as much as some personal question. For me, I cannot wait to really hear from him because when he accepted to be on this platform, I was super happy because he's someone that's gained some level of experiences that can be of massive value to you and I. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Let me introduce us to Mr. Emmanuel Paul Ben. Sorry, is it Paul Ben together or Ben and then Paul? Mr. Emmanuel.
It's Ben-Paul. It's a compound surname.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like us to meet Emmanuel Ben-Paul. So for most of us that don't know him yet, I'm sure by the end of the section, you're going to know much about him. He's a product and design lead for Gray. Now, at first, the name is what's Gray? What's Gray all about, right? So Gray is, again, they just last year, they were accepted into one of the finest accelerators in the world, Y Combinator. Respect those guys massively. And let's talk about Gray. So Gray is a fintech that help freelancers or anyone earn money or receive money anywhere they are in the world. And very nice product. And this is the guy behind that product. You're all going to be learning more about the product and him, his journey into this space, building that product that is on a global scale today. So having said that, about Emmanuel, I'm going to allow Emmanuel share and give us some bit of introduction about who he is, what's his hobby like, and before we get into the more serious things, please go ahead, Emmanuel. Over to you.
Hi, Jonathan. Thanks once again. Hi, guys. It's a pleasure to be here and share a bit of what I know with everyone. So, please just confirm if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, like Jonathan said, I am currently the product and design lead for Gray. Um, so my day to day basically just involves making decisions around like product and then design. So I lead the brand team, brand design team, product design team, and also like help make product decisions for Gray. Jonathan asked for hobbies. Apart from probably like researching and all, I think I am a heavy gamer. Like I love playing video games. So that's majorly video games and tabletop games. So um, a vast majority of them from chess, Scrabble, Monopoly, and even like foreign ones. Yeah, those are like particularly my interests.
Awesome. That's very interesting. I love to meet folks who are very heavy on games. I mean, not the table games. I mean, like PS, soccer. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
All right. So guys, we're going to jump into some some session with him. We're going to allow him. We're going to give him about 15 minutes. We want to hear for now. So for the first phase, we want to hear what prompted him to get on this journey as a product designer. I mean, why product design, right? We want to find out this about him. So we're going to give him 15 minutes to express himself, share his journey, so far, how he started, where he's at now, and what's the future looking like. And then after that, we're going to ask him some technical questions. And thereafter, we're going to open up the floor for every one of us who has one or two questions that they want to ask our guest this morning to then go ahead to ask. So the first one is, Mr. Emmanuel, I would like to know your journey so far. What has this always been your dream to become a product designer? How did it all start with you? Where did it start from? What prompted it? What idea? What gave? Just share with us for the next 15 minutes why. I mean, it just has to be product design. Okay, so I'll just leave that over to you, Sam. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. You've put me on the spot, said 15 minutes. I hope my journeys are long. So I think what prompted me to start is right from when I was young. I've been a really curious kid, and particularly because I kind of love to understand how people think. Basically, sorry to jump the gun, but I wanted to go for my master's in psychology. I've not done that yet, but that's like how fascinated I am with like how people think, how people make decisions or understand things. So that curiosity led me, of course, to ask some like really obscure questions when I was growing up, and all, and just like pick my curiosity on how to maybe influence people's decision and stuff like that. Because of the whole thing, like I was a fan of creativity. I never really like planned to even like work in product design. Matter of fact, I think up until 2016, I never knew it was even something that you could make a career from. The passion all started from university. I had a senior level mentor who was like into like he used to do like VFX video stuff and also 3D animations, Tony Stark kind of thing, like HD explorations and all. And like I really loved it. And then just out of sheer passion and just I know like I used to go to him to learn from him and all. So then I now started to like do graphic design, don't to learn from the basic, like just learn from like Photoshop and all. And I started doing that. And cool enough, like it was university, I was making money from it. Like people, the partner wanted to do like events and stuff, paid me to run their banners or like brand the events and stuff like that. And it was like really interesting and fascinating. And I did that like all through till I got out of school. I had a I had a close friend that was a software developer. I think then he was the best there. He was the best then. And then he usually like met me to give him input about the designs, because I don't know if you know this, but I think some 10 years ago, people don't like, there wasn't Figma for you to design and hand over to developers. No, like developers whole took the whole onus to design what it is that was being developed, either using a framework or a template or whatever. So it was interesting because in my mind, I'm like, I see this platform, I'm like, no, it could actually be better. Can't a designer? Because definitely, as designers, devs will not be, it's not a shade, but devs can't be as creative as designers. That's why the career exists. Like, if there's any, like, maybe you're probably few. And then he just like, okay, can I see this? Can I see this? Like, what should I do? What should I do? Like, oh no, this button does not look. And this was not all from like a principled point of view. It was just like bias. Like, I've observed what fine platforms, beautiful platforms look like. So let us do this here. And then it just got me like really curious. So because of that, I started to, I think I started to learn Adobe Dreamweaver. Then I don't know if you guys remember, but basically Dreamweaver was one of those platforms where you could design, and as you're designing, it generates the code for you. I think they've discontinued it. And then after that, they made another platform called or product called Adobe Muse, and I started learning that one. um it was kind of like similar, of course, to export the code and all, but you didn't just do what like you needed to do, because if you want to do that, it kind of puts the onus on you to like know it end to end. But if you design in Adobe Muse and then they export the code and you give it to a developer, it may not be the stack the developer uses. So that poses a problem for them. So because of like the feasibility of it, I kind of sort of lost interest in it and just went ahead with like my normal graphic design till I finished school. And then I started to work for an agency. Still, like I was first in an ad agency. I'm still doing the whole like graphic design and all. Then I worked on notable campaigns. I worked with Union Bank. Then I worked with Lucozade and Ribena. That was like for South Africa and all. But still, yeah, I still had this like yearning to just want to do things that related to like product design, like design actual apps, influence how people make decisions, um, not just um, not just like making decisions with like maybe a bottle design or a poster design and all. No, like actual decisions for an app, solve like real life problems and stuff like that. So I then like started just like taking courses on my own. Started taking courses on my own. Then I just changed. I think I kind of changed my bio, and that's when I got my first gig for it. Surprisingly, it went well because I had no prior idea of like how product design actually work. I just wanted to design. So the client came, gave me the brief and all, and I was like, okay, yeah, I think I can handle this. And through that particular job that I did, I was able to like leave the ad agency and then work solely as like a product and brand designer for another company. Of course, after like having that experience in brand design, you won't just want to throw it away completely. So I was happy to like get a role that kind of fit into both of them. Then it was, I don't know if how quite happy we are with Sha, but it was kind of an audacious company that what they're trying to do at the time is to do X. So they wanted to like do streaming platform for Africa that originates from Nigeria and all. Like, of course, we know how competitive the streaming industry is. Like, imagine trying to rival Spotify, Boomplay, and all. Well, like I said, it was really audacious and it was a challenge I really wanted to take up. So yeah, then I was like, I contributed to like the whole like the way the brand looks and also the way the product looks. And it was like a really challenging work and all. And yeah, there was like really impact from it. Like, people love what was doing. Like I said, it was quite audacious. So it probably did not grow as much as we wanted to grow, because I mean a lot has to go into the company being profitable versus rivaling all these like big tech giants and the rest. So anyhow, sure, work done.
Oh, yeah, it seems as we may have lost him a bit there. But so much is going on from his experience. So let's see if we can get him back very fast. Just give me a minute.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
sorry,
Good
my
to have you
network
back.
was a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries. Thank you.
NT Mahala. God give us money for Starlink. Anyhow, so
Yeah. Go ahead.
as I was saying, so I got the German job, and then like they really love what was being done. I mean, it was quite surprising because that was like my first interaction with foreigners, and I think it's good to say now that when I started working as a designer, my inspiration was never Nigerian platforms. I mean, that sounds a bit classist, but it's the fact. Um, you need to understand where some of these things originated from before you can like make decisions. And everyone wants to like be global. So the best way to be global is to have global references for most of these things. So every time I designed in mind, anytime I wanted to like reference something and all, it was always like a foreign brand, even up to now. Of course, some things may change dynamically because of the Nigerian market. Like you have to be considered that. But when it comes to like look, feel, experience, I don't, I don't, I don't, I don't play down on that. It has to be like based on international standards. So it was like really nice and humbling having people like my first experience, like I said, with the white person, having them like saying like, oh, they really love what I was working on. I stood out as a good candidate, blah blah, and then I eventually like landed the gig. I think in a nutshell, I think that progression was exactly what started my journey as a product designer. Surprisingly, again, like I mean, or rather, not surprisingly, like fortunately for me, again, it was a brand and product design role, so I didn't have to like throw away my brand, but slowly, I've started to like if it was like brand 60 or brand 70 and then product 30, product I started taking like majority of it, and also it's been a gradual process in that regard. And being a generalist, it's actually nice because when you are to lead a design team, it makes sense for you to have an understanding of the various aspects of design that you're going to manage. And also, I think yeah, Jonathan, that's my story in a nutshell.
Okay, that's really fascinating. I mean, while you were, sharing some of your experiences so far, I was busy taking notes. So there are three things that I picked from what you've said so far. You mentioned something about mentorship, how you got a mentor, and then you sound very passionate about branding, designs, and what is it, and of course, then you then had or have a standard to say I wasn't going to be thinking of Nigerian product and the like. So now that's a mindset that I would want us to talk about. Now, these three questions will come later in the section because they're very important questions. I have to take note of them. However, just to you know, go around the what you do per se. What does your job look like every day? What kind of tasks, would you literally say you're doing in your current role at the moment? What's it like for a typical product designer? Yeah.
Awesome. So I think you permit me to first talk about it from the point of like day-to-day product design and then leading a design team as well, because it's kind of like both of those.
Okay.
So typically as a product designer, ideally, of course, except sometimes in startup setting, like if it's an established place, you definitely will not work in isolation. Apart from working with your design team, you work with developers and then project managers or product managers to like understand what is being done. So usually like for instance, my day-to-day or let's say a project will begin with me like looking at the scope and requirements of that particular project, trying to understand it, of course, as drafted by the product manager, and then coming up with solutions that like wireframes and all, to just understand that this solution, like what I'm proposing, will it actually work in line with what is required based on the scope document that was submitted. Based off of that, like once it's been green checked, like of course the wireframes are like the low fidelity ones, nothing like serious, it's not with the color and all, it's just to get like a basic understanding of what the flow is going to be like. That's a good place for edits to be made, and then or corrections or inputs to be given. And then after that, based on like the design component system, we then adapt it like to be like hi-fi, and then put some notes and annotations and then hand it over to like to the developers to develop, and also be on standby for like any period that needs clarifications. I think which one thing is also that she also be open to hear about limitations, because sometimes as product designers we can be a bit ambitious with how we want some things to like work, and it may not be as realistic to developers. So it doesn't end at handoff. You have to like follow through, like, okay, what is possible, especially when you work with a startup and they want to like push things faster. No, you're like, okay, what can we strip down for now and probably improve on later. That's like as it goes hands-on. For managing a team, definitely it's almost still the same thing. It's just that at that point now you're now apportioning things that you want different members of your team to do. So the product manager would most times like talk to you as the head that this is what we want to do, and then you say, okay, you handle this, you handle this, you handle that. Sometimes product managers can go directly to product designers. Um, but if the product manager isn't going to directly to the product designer, the product designer can come to you like for feedback and all, because maybe you kind of like have the final say as to whatever design decision is to be made or to go out. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mm, that's a fine one. So for everyone who would be listening to this or who are currently listening to this, it is very important for us to have an idea for what this journeys look like, and this is why we are taking our time to understand this from the foundation or from the basic, if you like, and see how this progresses. So we've talked about how he journeyed into this space. He shared his experience already, and we've now talked about what it looked like to work on a day-to-day task as a product designer. One of the questions I want to ask, and seeing that we're actually talking to people who are actually trying to experience or take a decision in trying to, come into this space. There's been a lot of talk and views about, the tech roles and what have you. In fact, I have someone who told me product design is one of the easiest routes into tech career, into building a tech career. What is your perspective on that? Do you think it's easy for somebody who is a newbie?
Okay, so I agree and I disagree, because first of all, I may be I may sound a bit emotional, like with what I'm about to say, but I think like you also highlighted in the beginning, you need to have a passion for something to succeed in it. So if you're like, I mean, it's not wrong to be in it for like the money or the growth, or eventually you want to become a developer and all. But you should have the mindset that at any point in time, whatever your hand finds to do at that point, be passionate about it. So if you're just doing it as to pass away time, not necessarily like to understand it and all, it will not be the easiest for you. But if you back it up with a bit of like passion, like you kind of have like some sort of interest in it, it then becomes, because like you said rightly, I've like had that experience where like everybody just wants to people just want to claim that they are product designers. Interviewed people, reviewed portfolios and stuff like that, and someone probably just started like a month ago and you're calling yourself a product designer. Okay, I think probably get down there, like talking about like what it entails to be a product designer, because sometimes people are just interface designers and not necessarily product designers. And then so it's not necessarily the easiest of roles to just enter into, if because you need to have some background. You need to have some background in terms of basic design principles to understand like how because now the job market is actually quite saturated, and you guys can like bear witness. If someone puts out a tweet or whatever for a product design role, come back in like 1 or 2 hours, like let's be a good pay. I mean, you see so many comments, and when you see like maybe 500 comments, for every 500 comments you see, 700 people are probably in that person's DMs and all. So how do you stand out? You can't stand out being mid and all, and that's where the passion needs to come into place. So yes, it's probably the easiest route to tech, but there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of making yourself to stand out.
Hmm. Okay, so this will now lead me to the next two questions that I have. And guys, if you have questions, which I believe you would have, please feel free to just start taking note of them. We're going to be giving, most of us at least some amount of time to ask your personal question that has to do with this career path, being a product designer. I have a question, and you talked about some this issue with some people saying they're product designers, whereas they're just UI guys and etc. Now, what is the can you give us a clear distinction for what a product designer is like, or and what is a UI UX designer? Just I mean, we are all novice in this space, right? So just talk to us as maybe like a 5-year-old. What is this different, and what sets these two um title apart?
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. So I think what sets it apart is UI design, UX design is all under product design. Um, the Designing the interface is just one part. So product design isn't just designing the interface. It involves designing the interface, designing the experience, um, going ahead to like do some research to understand like how users will probably perceive it. So UI design, basically product design is an encapsulation of like UI design, UX design, UX research, making like product decisions and then iterating. So it's and in a practical sense, okay, like you said, like a 5-year-old, a UI designer is probably someone that maybe just does dribble shots. So for instance, you want to shoot your shot, and then like you said, the entry to product design, a mistake I see like a lot of people make is like just putting out like one or two screens
Mm.
and making like it's, of course sometimes it looks cool, but it's not practical. So I think one of the most popular aspects of doing, let me like people really like doing like maybe a fitness app or a cinema booking app and stuff like that, and it's probably just like one or two screens, like the screen that shows maybe you started your workout and then you completed your workout. Okay, that the interface could be brilliant, but then that's like a user interface designer. If you want to talk about being a product designer, then you now go end to end, like, okay, what was the problem I was trying to solve? What are use cases or user stories that these people that I'm trying to solve this problem for have gone through? So if it's a fitness app, you're saying something like, let me just maybe off the top of my head, maybe create like the Apple Watch, for instance. Let's say you wanted to create like an app for the Apple Watch and stuff, and then you say, okay, sometimes I don't want to tap the workout before the watch knows that I'm working out. Like it should be able to like predict that I'm working out, because I think that's a flaw. That's not like a flaw she has probably had to do, but that's a flaw with like the Apple Watch. So you have to like select that I'm actually skipping or going for an outdoor walk and stuff like that before it does stuff. Say, okay, so this is a problem that people have encountered. So they don't necessarily see the accurate login of how long they have actually worked out for. And then, okay, so what's your proposal? So I'm saying that, okay, maybe we can have XYZ, blah, 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 understand trends and all. Okay, then how will it now work? How will it now look? And then what are the results? That encapsulates what a product design does, because you have to think about it, about what you're doing as a product end to end, from the problem to the solution.
Mm.
That's essentially what a product does. A product highlights a problem, solves the problem, and then provides a solution to that particular problem. I hope it made some sort of
Yeah, it
sense.
does. It does really. I mean, it's all about the journey. It isn't just designing an interface. It's more or less like putting yourself in the user experience and try to know or pinpoint a problem and try to provide that solution. Like I said, I like the word when you say end to end stuff. Now, this I we get these questions a lot, and I'm going to ask you basically as a as an aspiring product designer. um, do I need to learn code, how to code? Do I need to ever consider that? Seeing that, I mean, I may not be as sharp as this code software guys, but do I necessarily need to learn how to code as a product designer?
Hmm. Okay, of course, the short answer is no. No, because I think again, when product designers start to think about learning to code, like I feel like there are two things that should fuel drive. Like I said, one is passion, second is aspiration. So you have a passion. If you have a passion for programming, good and fine, go for it. If you have an aspiration to become a software developer, good and fine. But if it is just about, will I say, increasing your earning is good. Like that, if you have the mindset that developers earn um, more than product designers. Money on its own is an aspiration. Let me not be sentimental.
That's
Like
a
money
part.
is a very
I still have questions around that. Go ahead.
money is a very very big like it's a big motivator basically. But you don't need to learn how to code to succeed as a product designer. You could have like basic understanding. And I mean, when I mean basic understanding, I'm just talking about probably HTML and CSS, just understanding how um, developers interpret your design. It doesn't have to like be in depth. And the reason why one may mistake or assume that you probably need to learn how to code is because if you kind of understand what it takes to be a product designer, like what I'm saying in a sense is that as a product designer self, you don't even have time. You're not like
Mm.
it's I'm still learning, like I'm still taking like a Udacity course currently. Like there's still a lot to learn in product design before you now say like to even stand out on your own, before you now even say that you want to now go and learn, unless you think that maybe you want to make a career shift or whatever. That's like good and fine. But to succeed as a product designer, like I said, short answer is like no. If you want to do it like because you wanted your goal was actually to become a developer, good and fine. Yeah, that's your aspiration. It's like good to go. But as a product designer, like it to make more sense for you to spend more time like honing your craft, getting better, more like getting more acclimatized with concepts. Because trust me, like product design in its own self is rewarding. Let me not get ahead of myself.
Okay, because I have one question before I we get to talk about the earning potentials of a product designer. So let's just look at this question now. In my short time, like I said, okay, just to mention, Joseph is supposed to be joining us, but he had an emergency just last night. Okay, just needed to say that as part of the program. We had an emergency that he needed to attend to overnight, so this is why we're not having him here. And so now, in my short time in this space, I've been privileged, okay, to be able to talk to a lot of people. I mean, I talk to a lot of people every day. It's now a norm. Now I see a lot of people asking me, I have learned this thing. What is the next step? I have learned this thing, and every time this question, it seems like that's a non question, if you understand what I mean. And I try to ask them. I say, "Do you have a profile?" That's like the first thing I ask. I mean, you've talked about, if this thing is your passion, you have to build it. You have to have, this. You have to be able to, build a profile for yourself. And then I ask them, "Do you have a profile?" And a lot of them just be like, how do you mean a profile? Like I have a link to my, is it Behance? They call it, or is it Behance? And they be like, this is my link and all that. Now, this takes me to my questions to you. What do you think that as a tech um, person, tech bro or tech sis, what is the place of networking? Now, I ask this question because in the earlier conversation we're having, you mentioned, having a mentor. Whether we like it or not, this is all part of networking. I mean, if you don't reach out to the mentor literally will not know that you want help, right? Now, I wanted to combine the importance of a mentor and then build it around, you know, as an entry-level product designer, how can I build my network? How can I maximize my network? I mean, don't forget, we talked about not just coming out to say, I've done maybe, for example, fitness app. I'm sharing two screens, so I'm a product designer and I'm ready to bounce. I mean, we're talking about guys who are passionate, bury their head down and make things happen. So how do you combine? The is networking important in this space? Just talk to us about it. Talk about mentorship
All right.
and all that. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Jonathan. So, first of all, forgive me if I kind of veer off like the actual question, like to answer like networking. But I just want to like bring in like a number of things together just for it to like make sense all in
That's
all.
fine.
So, to start with like networking, of course, like as with anything, everything in life, networking is important. Even your day to day, even if you're not a designer, networking is important. I mean, you could give like instances. You could meet somebody here today that has like a connection, and then tomorrow the police is arresting you or harassing you for something, and then you just call that person. Like, of course, like networking is like very, very important as it is. Now, linking networking and having mentors. I think one of the problems that, or one of the things that um designers do like a lot, especially like nowadays, is I think being a bit entitled. And I'm sorry to like
Mhm.
use this word, but I think entitlement is one of those. And what I mean by entitlement is that, as with everything in life, to be honest, nothing is easy, and you don't like necessarily get everything on a platter of gold, basically. So for my case, my top mentors like in design are two ladies that I worked with. The first was like the agency I worked, and the second one like was the my previous job before like I went to Grey full time. And what was it about it? It was like I, for lack of better words, I slaved. Like first of all, in looking for a mentor, you have to show that mentor that you have drive.
Mm,
You really want. You can't just come to the mentor and say, I want you to like, I mean, human beings have other things that they are probably like going through or taking care of, and also you can't just come off as like being entitled that I've said you should be my mentor, hence how far, like check up on me and so. You have to see that drive, and that's something that the two places I left, they said it about me that we saw that drive, like you're working overtime, you're working because I mean nowadays we are very, very quick to like call some industries toxic and whatnot. But
mm,
to be honest, like that's not exactly what it is. We're just quick to like call out people and all. But you need to understand that as with everything in life, everything is like in stages. We build gradually. So in building gradually, you have to in building gradually, you have to understand the process, know where like you're at your learning phase, you're not having like some sort of autonomy at this point in time. And also that's where mentors come in. Like look for people that you could have mentors that are direct people that you can call, and you could have mentors that you probably will never speak to. People that you never speak to, it's about looking at their journey and trying to like recreate what it is that they have done with their life, basically. So if for instance I look at myself, I want to probably work at Apple someday. I read Johnny Ive's story. I see how
mm.
he learns, what he learns, things that he did and all. Understand how he relates to me. Okay, that can be my mentor. Like like get an idea of his routine, of his discipline and stuff like that. Reverse engineer that process, basically. That's one of the things that, because mentors, you may never get like physical mentors that always check up on you, but you can always look at people in high places. You never need to like have had contact with them, but they have their stories out there. You can read their books. If it's Phil Nike, like read Shoe Dog, Phil Knight, you have an understanding of his philosophy, how he applied things to his life and all. And it helps like to provide some sort of clarity in terms of that. Yeah, I hope I answered that well.
Yeah, you did because I mean you rightly highlighted um, how we can literally network. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, you know, have like everyone or somebody you can hold on to physically to say you have to mentor me or I am your mentor, etc. We just have to find, you know, who we want to, learn from and just try to learn what they did and reverse engineer it, just like you have said, which is valuable because again, I like when you mention something about people having this idea of toxic environment. I mean, when you have to put in the hard work, and we get that a lot, really. I mean, in my short time diving into tech, I'm not really a product designer, but I love it. I feel like everybody should have an idea of what product design is all about. That gives you a sense of anything and everything, around products. However, this has, when you mentioned this issue of work, there was a toxic work thing that is now sometimes in vogue. I want to channel that into character. And again, this also brought us to the second thing I picked up from when you were speaking earlier about your journey, which is about passion. And before I ask this question, I just want to say that if you have any question, please, you can use the raise hand icon or drop your question in the chat. We're going to read it for you. If you want to speak, just use your raise hand icon, and I'm going to just give you the, or I'm just going to to ask you to ask a question directly. Now, how do we define um, putting in the work? Again, I mean, you shared your journey. While when I was transitioning into tech, for me some few years ago, it was burning all the midnight candles. You know, I would go to work, I'll be done, and then I'll get home. You know, I will still do this work. I just want to make sure everything is, is clean. You know, when I get a task to deliver, let's say in 72 hours, I want to deliver that task in 36 hours, in 40 hours, stuff like that. And some people will say, this is not how to work, you're just killing yourself. We have this idea that you're just killing yourself. Now, few years down the line, um, everyone whom we started this journey together, okay, I can point to say literally about two of us are kind of like doing so well, because we both show this character of putting in the work, wanting to learn every day. Just like you said, I am also still taking courses. I'm learning every day because I have to be better than yesterday. But we find out that some people, for example, will just have an idea about the course, and when it's time to do the extra work, they start talking about what is that word again? Um, I'm just trying to get that one. Workplace hazard or whatever. That's yes. So how do you advise entry-level product designers? And this should be free for all tech niches or any career path. What would be your top three advice to say, hey, you want to get the juice out of this stuff, you have to grind. What would be your top three advice?
Okay, thank you. That's a very, very broad question. All right, so uh, I think okay to start with this. Of course, this is not a Nami suffer pass kind of thing, but like generally, yes, I think first things first is about being, I think, faithful. Now, like I said, like I am a I'm a realist. And in being a realist, sometimes you probably say some things that people don't want to hear, but I just have to like say the truth about some of the things. Now, nowadays, like even when one started, we're going to the office physically. Now it
Yeah.
becomes even worse now that we currently are embracing the remote culture. So let me not get ahead of myself. First of all, in putting in the work, um, you need to you need to I think the basic mindset you need to have is that for every employer you're working for at any particular point in time, think of it as your own work and
Mm,
give and always want to bring value. Because this is something that people say, like I mean, you could eventually go and say, how much are they paying me that I should go over? Yes, you can still stick to your 9 to 5. We're not talking about you don't have to like work extra hours or whatever, but let the quality of your work speak. Let the quality of your work speak. I don't know, I could be as vague as saying that maybe what like nature or God will reward you eventually. Like that if your workplace does not see the value you're putting in, but let it be that you on your own, like on your own self, you have done that work. So this spans into like when you're given a task to do, like do proper research about it. They told you to do this. Don't stop at where they told you, because like you said now about the thing about your timeline. If you're given 7 hours, you want it in 36 hours. Now, if you give yourself 36 hours, even if that's your benchmark, 36 hours, even if you don't you go beyond 36 hours, it will not show you that 72. Worst comes to us 48, which is still good. So if the company has set a bar for you for like 70, try and reach go and reach 100. The worst that will happen is that you fall probably to like 80 or 75, but you still be above that benchmark that they've
mm,
set for you. Practically speaking, in product design, reference stuff. Like I think reference is one of the big things that I keep saying. One of my favorite books is Still Like an Artist, because there's really nothing new under the sun. And I'll just briefly use
Mm,
this analogy for instance. I don't know if you notice how that every single car manufacturer have the same design. Like the skeletal framework of a car is the
yeah,
same,
it's the same.
depending on wherever brand it is. The light is in front, there's a windscreen, the side mirrors are here, there's a boot, there's light and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The wheel is always circular. You can't say you're trying to be creative and create an octagonal wheel. Of course, you could now improve on how it works, but the skeletal framework is what exists.
Mm,
There's really like nothing new. So that's one thing that's a premise for us to like build upon. So for instance, you're being called to probably like do, will I say, an app or whatever. It's not bad to reference things that currently exist as it is, but like I said before, you can tailor suit it for your own market. There are things that you can do in that regard. So and that's like a practical example of like going over and beyond. I think one of the things that is lacking, that is called like in Nigeria that is lacking, is research. We hardly do research. We just like get
mm,
and go. And research will make you go the extra mile. Research will make you see things that even whoever was assigning whatever to you probably did not see at the beginning. So yeah, that I think as it goes to working hard, that is something that you need to do. It's not just about like complaining, because eventually you should understand that every work you're doing will speak for you eventually. Um, it will speak for you. You put out your portfolio or whatever, it will shall speak for you. A boss in quotes may be toxic now, and I'm sorry to say, but this is not me condoning. I mean, the extreme toxic cases that do not even make any sense whatever. If it's
true.
affecting your mental health and or like, definitely speak to someone about it, and if possibly resign. But what I'm saying is that be true to yourself and understand, because I've also experienced it. So now, to just conclude, where I was going to, with like remote work, is that now we work remotely, and then you see people like trying to, your contract clearly says work 9 to 5, and you're having like 2 or 3 jobs. And even when it comes to pay satisfaction, you're being paid what you requested being paid, or you're being actually paid well. So, and when you have like multiple distractions like that, it's hard for you to give your best in one aspect.
Mm,
And also, I
mm,
think product designer should just be like, be true to yourself, be true to yourself, and try to, whatever will not make you do your best work, that, like cut it out. Because, and I'll just end with this: quality of work speaks over time. If you're doing it for the money now, and then maybe um, you do mid work where you're working, and you do mid work in your contract work, by the time you're presenting those two to somebody, it may not hold any value. But if you focus your energy on one work, you do it very well and you present it. Because even interviewers or recruiters now say that sometimes it's only one portfolio or one project case study that they go through. They don't go through like all the five you put, but one case study that is well done, that has like very, very good results, can speak volume, rather than having multiple things that you've done. So I think it's about thinking of tomorrow, basically, in a nutshell. Think
mm.
of tomorrow. Don't always think about the immediate now or what I'll eat, basically.
Thank you so much. Now, when it comes to learning, this we have just two more questions, and then we'll let you go. When it comes to learning, I'm someone that's very passionate about learning, and I believe that nobody should stop learning. Irrespective of what you do, who you are, and etc. etc. Uh, when it comes to learning, um, is there like a timeline? So I'll give you an example. Um, some folks will say, okay, you want to master the skill before you start putting yourself out there to attract these opportunities that we have. Do you believe in that school of thought? However, and if you don't or you do, how long should someone like me who's trying to become a product designer, do you have a time frame that I should, sink in? Let me give you perspective. So when I was looking to transition into tech, I came from an accounting background, right? And I wanted to come into the tech space for so many reasons. I tell you, and of course, um, I wanted a career path that was sustainable, and I wasn't, that was so sure. I don't have to be looking back and front, right? There was the issue of compensation and etc. So many reasons. So, however, for me as a person, I took a decision and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to grant myself 6 months. I'm talking back to back, learning stuff, building stuff, and doing a whole lot of stuff within 6 months. When I'm done with this, I then try to put myself out there to start attracting opportunities. And then I start begin to learn within this opportunity. And this is what has helped us with quantum analytics, for example. So for everyone who come to our program, we say you don't literally have to spend 1 year, 2 years trying to learn these things. You learn, we like for example, we have boot camps, for example, that we will put in everything together, make you work on real life projects, and then connect you to um, internship opportunities where you then work real life projects. And we believe that within this space of 1 year, including your learning and your internship experience, building real life stuff, you should be ready to now, push yourself out there into this space fully to operate. I mean, to just start learning and to start producing what you think you can produce. Now, for you, and if you're going to be advising me to say, I'm coming into the products design space, what is your ideal, learning process like?
Okay, thanks for that. So frankly speaking, I will not say I don't think there's a time limit, to be honest. I think it's about how much you learn, but I can speak about some things that can facilitate learning. Because of course I won't say names on this call, but like I have like friends and people who probably just started 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and they're like already taking senior roles. And it's not just senior in terms of title, their job requires like senior stuff and all. So there is really no time frame to it, to be honest. I will not say, I mean, you could, okay, let me just be realistic. If you want to learn production, the minimum you should give yourself should be a year in terms of learning. But what I'm saying is that you could grow exponentially while some may be growing like arithmetically. So the fact that it took someone maybe 6 years to get somewhere doesn't mean it may take you 6 years. That's in terms of like career growth. But in terms of learning, yeah, I can say let's just leave it at a year. And what that may entail is I think one of the things that boot camps do nowadays is just like just put the tool in the hands of people that have had no idea of design. Because sometimes I wanted to like touch on briefly, and that is the fact that product design is an arm of design, just as graphic design, interior design, and whatever are also brands of design. Now, design in its own self has a body of principles that need to be followed, and it shows in every single aspect of design. Now, for instance, I don't know, I think COVID made us, 2020 made us like to understand or love interior design because people like post like their setups and all.
Yeah.
What are the things that make some of those interior decors look as beautiful as they are? It's because of their piggyback of the principles of design. So that is like having contrast, balance, repetition, harmony, hierarchy, rhythm, white space. Those are like the principles of design. It goes into like every single quarter of design. So if as a designer you don't have an understanding, like you go ahead, you understand Figma like cover to cover, but you don't understand how good design works or good design looks, it will take you a longer time. And this foundation is something that you actually learn on the job, and it takes some time, some like a number of times to acclimatize yourself to it. So sometimes you now ask the question, okay, why is it that senior designers can just easily pick another tool and they get used to it? Because they understand the basics of
Mm,
design. So for instance, you're creating a website and all, and you just make every text pitch black. It doesn't give contrast. It doesn't give a sense of hierarchy. That's why sometimes you have on some sites that a text is dark and then the other one is lighter to tell you that okay, this is what you should read first and this is what you should read next. So in learning, it's not just about learning the tool or learning this thing. There are principles that design piggybacks from. And for people that have like taught design, it's sometimes you just feel like what are you like I want to learn product design, you're telling me to start drawing boxes. But no, you have to understand like how objects relate with each other, how white space, like harmony, how color comes together to make everything just look beautiful and look like unique. So this I think designers need to like learn the principles of design before then getting like onto the tool to actually like design interfaces, or whatever. It's very easy to understand like the UX, like I said before. That's why I said a year. You can understand that you can go on interviews and all those are like interpersonal skills. When it now comes to like hand-on understanding concepts, um, yeah, this is one of the things that needs to be understood before going further.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's so much value. Again, we share this kind of experience. I mean, like I said, I've been really privileged. I'm not taking that for granted. About my journey into this tech journey, I've been able to, meet a lot of people, hear their experiences. I mean, from junior to senior to everywhere, and I think this idea of fundamentals, it resonates. I mean, you could tell somebody, okay, you know what, you want to come into this place, let's start doing this. And they'd be like, no, this is not what I'm here for. I just want to, hit the ground running and all that. But again, understanding what it takes to thrive in any field, in fact, in any career path you find yourself is very, very key. My final question to you has to be about the earning potential. I mean, this question pops every time. So because we always sample questions before events, say, hey guys, just send us any question you think you want us to ask, and we're going to put it out there. So this one kind of like resonates across board. That's to be the income potential. So I mentioned earlier from my own area that one of the major reasons why I actually wanted to transition was because I wanted to, of course, there's a part of money. We all want to earn better, and of course, get a secure job. What is it like for you? COVID happened, there's this boom with tech opportunities here and there. I have put in the work. I have paid for programs. I have grind. I know my onion in a way. I understand the basic, the foundation, and I think I've got what it takes. I have very good profile. I've built a lot of portfolio projects. I just want to be I just want to get in. What is the outlook for product designers, entry levels at this point? Because I mean, just imagine I want to just come into this space. What is it like?
Mm, okay, thanks. Okay. I want to know the limits to which what I should share and what I shouldn't share. So this is even expense, not even personal like stuff. So so I think let me just give you a range, like both like Nigeria and international, because sometimes if you're like applying to like a solely Nigerian company and or you have to like be realistic, they can't pay you like the dollar value of
Yeah.
what is that. So a typical Nigerian company for entry level, like maybe design intern and all, should pay. I think the minimum should be around 150, 200. But usually that's, and let me just probably just give some hints and all around it. This is what companies do. They will hire you as an intern, you'll be hired as an intern, and then you'll be required to like work for some months. Now, nowadays, before there was a time that you work as an intern and then you know that you're going to be confirmed, but that's not what it is now. So you have to work up to the potential or meet the amount that you're being paid before that promotion actually occurs. So at that entry level, and most people that are entry levels, like most times you probably haven't had like experience, it's like a first experience, and also that's the place that you need to like impress. And then you could start at that, you could get confirmed, your pay will rise, but trust me when I say that even Nigerian companies, like I mentioned some, but they pay in upwards of like 1 million, 2 million. Like that's where you can reach, and that's somewhere you can reach within, to be honest, within 6 years, as long as you put in the work and then you know your onions. Basically, for foreign companies, like it'll be a bit different. You're talking about within the range of like 1,500 to about 7,500. That if you're not, or let me just say 6,000, if you're not getting like a senior role and all, that's the potential that currently exists. But like I said again, you have to put in the work. And I'll just give like practical example. So it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like it's not all vague. So for instance, I know someone that was hired as an intern, was being paid about 200, but after the 6 months, they had to let the person go. Why? Because the person did not meet up to, like, I mean, you were able to like bamboozle your way through interview and all. And for the company, it's even be cheaper for them to hire someone that is a bit more mid-level for about 350,400 than having somebody that is kind of delaying stuff and still earning that particular amount. That's one example. There's another example of someone that I know that started earning at 150. Probation was for 6 months. It didn't reach 6 months. The person got confirmed. Salary like rose to about 400. That's like more than 2x. Rose to 400 because of like quality of work that was put and all. Got another promotion before the next 6 months period of being this thing, and then it rose to 800, and then eventually left the company and started working for an international company. This was all within the space of 2 3 years, like from learning from scratch to actually earning. But that particular person, I mean, it sounds nice, but you don't understand the midnight candles that the person actually burned to
Mm,
be good. So
yeah.
your pay is directly proportional to how good you are and how good you improve yourself. Basically, the sky is the limit. Let me just put it that way when it comes to earning potentials. And it's a myth that developers earn more than designers. I'll just end
I will take you on that personally, but not for this
there.
section. Because when you say it's a myth that developers earn more than designers, I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you of this event
No problem.
entirely to to just hear that perspective. I want to really appreciate you for your time, for coming on. For of course you spent about more than an hour now, and we thought so. I sincerely want to appreciate you. I love how you have been able to simplify this stuff, for those who are going to be watching this live. I mean, this is so much massive. Before you go, are you on Twitter? Are you on, I know you're on LinkedIn. Okay, we're going to post your link on in there on YouTube. But are you on Twitter? If you're on Twitter, just tell us your handle so that everyone listening to this can go follow you right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll also type in the meeting note. I am
Okay,
my handle is at E_Ben_Paul.
right.
Let me also just type it.
Okay. So this is fantastic. We've been having Emmanuel Ben-Paul, who is a product and design lead at Gray. And Gray, again, is a fintech startup. And of course, they were just last year accepted into one of the prestigious accelerators in the world, which is YC. Okay. And Emmanuel has shared loads of interesting insight about the journey into becoming a product designer, guys. All right, so he's on Twitter, and I'd like us to just go follow him wherever where he's going to. And again, don't bamboozle him, right? So let him take his time to respond to you. And so he's on Twitter at E_Ben_Paul. We're going to be posting that also in the description section on YouTube so that everyone can go follow him. He's also on LinkedIn as Emmanuel Ben-Paul. So Ben slash, not slash, dash Paul, right? In the way for me to say it. So that's it. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. We're super grateful to have you. Do have a fantastic weekend. And hey, I'm going to reach out to you. We're going to talk about the mint between software dev and designers. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful
No
weekend
problem.
ahead.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Cheers.
Have a lovely.
And you too. Oh my.